We haven't covered this yet because I honestly didn't think it would end up happening, and I'm sure you guys have heard, but the Phillies are in the World Series, and that's a big deal for us because if you haven't heard, every time the Phillies win the World Series, there's an economic downturn. Before they were the Phillies, they were the Athletics in Philadelphia. They won in 1929 and 1930. Not great years for the world economy. They won in 1980 and then in 2008. So this episode comes out on a Friday. I think game 1 is tonight. I'm not a big sports guy, but if you want everything to be okay, root against
the Phillies. Yeah, correlation is causation for sure.
Yeah. In my mind, our entire world economy is hanging on this.
On the Phillies. On baseball.
I think of myself as not a superstitious person, but when I saw these stories, I was like,
it is a little scary.
I was like, let's turn our baseball hats inside out.
Yeah.
Rally caps.
Yeah. There's also the Avatar movie was released in 2008.
Oh,
and they're
shit.
re-releasing it, right?
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Also responsible.
Yeah, for recessions.
So guys, don't yell at politicians. Don't yell at fed presidents.
Yeah.
Find James Cameron's house.
And the Phillies.
And go to the Phillies' houses.
Yeah.
And let them know.
Protect the economy. What a mess.
Should we talk about the UK first?
Sure.
And what's going on?
Yeah.
They just picked their new
PM.
And they chose the head of lettuce.
It seemed like that for a while. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, it seems like things have calmed down quite a bit, but for a while it was just like, what is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
They picked Rishi Sunak to succeed Liz Truss.
Yeah.
Because I thought Liz was going to be the girl. I thought in Liz we trust.
Yeah.
But not so much.
Yeah.
Do you think Rishi Sunak can right the ship?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it'll depend. They're re-releasing the fiscal package on October 31st. So it'll depend. Yeah, right? But it'll depend on that. Yeah, and what that says.
Right. And, there's some reason to have some confidence in Rishi, right? Because he was against Liz's proposals, right?
Yeah.
I believe he was calling them Fantasyland or fairy tale
I think,
economics.
Fantasyland, yeah.
So there's some reason to have some confidence in him. I think other people are a bit disappointed. I don't know if you saw, people were comparing his wealth to the king's wealth.
Oh.
So Rishi Sunak is richer than the King of England.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Between his wife is very wealthy.
Right.
From her father's company.
Yeah.
And they were in some hot water because of...
Didn't she evade taxes?
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Okay.
But then she got caught and she was like, all right, I'll pay the taxes.
My bad.
Yeah. Even though her, husband was responsible for setting some of the, tax policy and everything.
Sure.
Also, we got a shout out. He's a Stanford business school guy. Kind of our rival show. They don't know it, but they're our rival.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For a very specific weird joke that we did with our fans.
Oh, really?
But Stanford Business School doesn't know we exist, I'm sure.
I'm sure they know. They're aware. Why wouldn't they be aware?
I don't know. I hope they're aware.
So, yeah, you just have to think positively.
Right. But so another reason we don't mess with Rishi.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully, I don't know. It'll depend on what markets decide. If they like Rishi. That's the most important thing right
Markets really decided they didn't like Liz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can you explain what happened a little bit?
Yeah. So they released their fiscal package, Liz Truss and everything. And it was really inflationary. It was tax cuts and a bunch of fiscal spending. And markets did not like that. And so the pound cratered, their currency, get yields soared. And it was just super bad for a while. And then the Bank of England had to step in because their pension funds were about to implode because they had this exposure to liability-driven investments. And so if all of a sudden, get yields are soaring, that means that these LDIs are going to be under a lot of pressure. So the pension funds were under a lot of pressure. So the Bank of England had to step in, fix everything. And the markets just were very clear that they were not happy about this inflationary fiscal package that was put forward.
Right. I'm confused. What was Liz thinking? Do you think she was like, this is my Margaret Thatcher moment. We're going to,
I mean, I think like what's really interesting right now about all governments, and even in the United States, because we have midterms coming up, is like the politicking versus actual governance. So there was like no sense in the package being passed. Like the package itself didn't really make a whole lot of sense. It was much more like politics versus actual governing.
Right.
So I think it's that sort of stuff where you have governments who are just sort of focused on the next re-election, on the next way to gain more power. And that's like a, really broad brush to paint across all governments, but I think that's the big problem.
Yeah. But I think that's where it's hard to piece together, right? Because I don't know when their election is, but, it's hard to think like, oh, this is going to win people over. This is going to win people to the Conservative Party. Mm-hmm. I know times are tough right now, but we're slashing taxes for the rich. Mm-hmm. I think they were like releasing limits on bankers' bonuses and everything. It's hard to see that as a positive outcome for the Conservative Party in Britain.
Yeah. Obviously it didn't work out that well.
Yeah. Right. A lot of people are talking about Liz Truss. She accomplished a lot of things that like the British left could not. She killed the Queen. She didn't
single-handedly.
Maybe. She killed the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Lots of changes happening for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And weren't you saying there's a lot that, the U.S. could learn from what is going on in Britain?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's going to have to be specifically on the monetary policy side, like how the markets responded is important to pay attention to. And I don't like a lot of people will be like, oh, if you're saying that markets basically dictated what happened to Liz Truss, you're saying that democracy can't exist under capitalism, which is like, I don't know if that's true or not. I think it has to exist.
No, she thinks it's true.
I'm not saying, well, it's just interesting because so you have fiscal policy makers, so people like Liz Truss, people like Joe Biden, like the US government, the UK government, and then you also have monetary policy decision makers. So here in the United States, the Federal Reserve, over there, the Bank of England, and then you also have like markets now, and right. You've always had markets, like they've always been the final judge of policy. But for the United States specifically, like how markets responded to this in this fiscal package that was put forward, the United States is going to have to pay attention to that. And I don't like there's different measures in place that we won't have that same sort of fallout. Like we don't have pension funds that are overly exposed to that sort of leverage that was in the liability driven investments, but it's still like something that is important to watch is like market fundamentalism and how that plays out. Yeah.
I don't think we really have pension funds here.
Yeah. Nobody retires.
Yeah.
You just work until you
Our
die.
retirement plan is to work until you're dead.
Yeah. And that's
mine.
That's mine too.